cosmos is full beyond measure. Elegant truths of exquisite interrelationships of the awesome machinery of nature. I believe our future depends powerfully on how well we understand this cosmos, in which we float like a mote of dust in the morning sky.
On my travels, I sometimes take a moment to network with some of my colleagues, and this last loop was no different. Between shoots, I drove into St. Louis to meet up with Jeff McIntire-Strasburg, a blogger, environmentalist, and a fellow important media contributor. After chatting at a local cafe, we retreated to a lovely nearby park to conduct an interview about his work. Enjoy. Tell me a little bit about Sustainablog and what inspired you to start this blog a few years back.
What inspired me was reading. I started picking up books by people like Paul Hawken, God, the names are escaping me, Daniel Quinn's Ishmael novels, several others, and this was while I was an English professor. So I was teaching a lot of writing classes at that point. So my interest in starting the blog really came out of teaching writing. I had always told my students that if you really want to learn something, write about it. And so I decided to put that into practice myself. And so it was a way for me to wrestle with these ideas and then just kind of went from there.
So how long have you been doing Sustainablog?
It'll be 8 years in July.
That would make you one of the first green blogs on the web. How does it feel to be sort of at the leading edge of things?
Old at this point. It's really been fun to watch the space develop, though. Tree Hugger came about, I guess, about a year after I started, and they definitely, they did it big, and then they had the money to do that, and it was really cool to see that there was demand for something of that size, and then other sites that came along that were bigger and so forth.
You've got a new project springing off of Sustainablog.
Yes.
Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, we started the Green Choices product comparison engine, and this was largely a financial decision, as you might imagine. I had been doing the typical ad revenue thing, and when the economy tanked, the ad market, including the online market, pretty much tanked with it. So making a living doing that, and my wife would argue I'm still not making a living, but that was difficult at that point. But about that time, I met up with my current partner, Brian Toomey, who lives up at Dancing Rabbit, where you just were, and he had this connection with a company called ShopWiki that essentially does product comparison sites along those lines, and we were going to be a test case for their first site focused on a particular vertical, the green vertical in that case, and so that's what we've done for, again, about a year and a half to bring in some revenue.
You bring up a very good point, and that is that this new media which is evolving is very vital and alive, and yet it seems as if it's very hard to bring money into the space to actually get things rolling in a larger sense. Why do you think that advertisers are so insistent upon sticking with old media, which is losing viewers, and so reluctant to embrace newer media, which is gaining by leaps and bounds?
Ultimately, that is what they know, and largely are still trained in. When advertising programs, marketing programs at the university level, they're starting to catch on to these things, but by and large, they're teaching these old school methods. So there's, within the advertising industry itself, they have a vested interest in having clients stick with older forms, even if, by and large, at least what I read, I don't have numbers to prove this, but they're not as effective.
Tell me, what is the comparison engine supposed to accomplish for a person who is seeking out green products?
Well, first and foremost, it's supposed to give them the best price and then the ability to compare prices among various vendors. It's supposed to show them the breadth of green products, and we've got everything on there. And finally, to give them information, if there are people that's relatively new to this and are trying to figure out, okay, what's out there, what is going to work for me. We don't have things like user reviews and so forth, but I really want to work that in there because I think that's a critical element at this point and in this medium, not just getting the copy that we're writing about it or the copy that the vendor puts out or the manufacturer puts out, but what are other people saying? Which product works better, and so forth, because ultimately that's what people want. I mean, they want the things that are less toxic, more environmentally beneficial, but they still want it to work.
So one of the real challenges with finding and buying green products is the issue of greenwashing.
Yes.
A lot of products might claim to be green or might claim to be more energy efficient, and then you get them home and you find, well, they're not. Do you think that search engines like yourselves that sort of check the products out before they get into the matrix, into the store, are what is critical, or do you think that there needs to be more truth in advertising as from the manufacturers themselves?
Well, ultimately there does, but at this point, again, with social media, with the fact that anybody can publish their thoughts on things, there's no benefit for an advertiser to lie anymore. Somebody's gonna call them out somewhere, and so yeah, I think the web-based, I mean, whether it's what we do or whether it's more of a community site that allows people to put in reviews, to argue about which brand is better or which product is better. Ultimately, I think that's the way things are going, and I think advertisers, manufacturers are starting to figure out, in some cases anyway, that there really is no benefit in greenwashing. Somebody's going to call you out on those things.
So if we're going to rely upon savvy consumers to kind of keep everything going, what's the best way of cultivating savvy consumers?
Well, that's certainly something we try to do on the blog. Educating them, and those of us who know about these things, talking to people, but talking to people in a way that's meaningful to them. Those, not just those of us in the green space, but I suppose any of us who are passionate about a particular issue we can get in people's faces at times, and of course that I think is the worst way to get our messages across. So educating people first by finding out what is important to them. So if it is energy efficiency, if they just want to cut their electric bill, and then who doesn't these days, let's give them the information that we have that allows them to do that. If they're concerned about the health of their kids, then that's their main focus. Again, let's give them that information and not judge their motivations. I may be getting off a little from your question here, but ultimately I think creating savvy consumers requires us to figure out what is important to those people, and then let them know, okay, this is how these things meet those particular needs that you have, and oh, by the way, they also benefit the environment.
So as I've noted, funding's a real problem.
Yes.
Do you think that other people and other bloggers need to open their own storefronts? Maybe not direct storefronts, but meta storefronts like the one that you've constructed.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly one way to do it. And I mean, we're not getting rich at this point by any means. We've still got some tweaking to do. I mean, we're still a beta site at this point. But what we do is affiliate marketing, which essentially we pull in products from other vendors and market them on their behalf and take a cut of that. It's a different model from straight advertising, but yeah, it certainly has its benefits. Putting things out there for people to buy directly, people are looking for things, so why not put it out there and then also give them the information they need to buy. But one of the things that I've learned, and I think all of us are learning, is you have to diversify the revenue streams. I mean, we do have advertising back on the blog now, but I think the idea is that we will never go with just a single revenue stream. We will try a number of different things to keep it coming in.
You were a pretty early player in the blogosphere, and yet at this point you've decided to join a larger media network, the Important Media Network. Could you explain a little bit about Important Media and why you think that perhaps networks like this are the way to go forward as bloggers?
For someone like me, I'm really not a techie. I mean, I know just enough HTML to be dangerous, and that's about it. So the nice thing about a network like this is that it gives you that level of support that you can put on a professional face to the world, and yet you're not having to devote your time to things that you're really having to learn and so forth. You can really focus on I'm a writer at heart, and that's what I want to do, and then that's what I'm best at, so I can focus on the writing and finding good stories and so forth, and I don't have to worry about these technical issues and so forth. And I end up splitting some of the ad revenue with them, and it really works out to a good deal. And I have a platform, right off the shelf that works.
So how would you compare the important media model to, say, the Huffington Post model, which is another group blog?
Well, you get paid at important. that was too easy. One of the good things I think that's come out of Huffington Post is that they have given exposure to smaller sites. I've gotten some posts listed on there. It does wonderful things for both traffic and exposure. Some people are like, oh, they steal people's content. They don't really. They'll take a paragraph or two. And actually, I've been thinking a lot about that model as we've moved into this new iteration of the site. What can I do, one, to just find good content that people have already written about, as a way to get those ideas out there, but even to give a hand then to sites that are smaller than I am, that are struggling and trying to make a name. There's lots of good stuff out there, and so that model can work to give a voice to people that might not, or might have a tough time getting it otherwise. You don't get paid writing for HuffPo, and of course a lot of people that do write for HuffPo don't need to get paid. They just want to bang their particular drum. But I think there's problems with it, but I think there's a lot of value to it too.
More of a philosophical question this time. One thing I've noticed in my travels is that people are often very focused upon their own projects, and they're unaware of other people that might be able to synergize with them by integrating projects or sharing information. How do you think we can facilitate networking these people together? Because the sort of systems that we need for the future are not systems which are going to come from one person, but they're rather much larger things that require a lot of independent expertise. So what do you think is the best way to bring people together to really build a better future?
The open source model, since we're talking philosophical, I think anytime you can kind of put something out there that allows other interested people to contribute, that's what I've kind of had that in the back of my mind a lot. I read What Would Google Do a few weeks ago, so that is really at the forefront. But social media itself is about finding communities, tribes, even people who are interested in the same kinds of things, and it facilitates then that kind of working together. Because you're right. If you try to do it all yourself, you end up spending a lot of times on things that, again, you may not be particularly good at, but are still a necessary part of the project. But if you can get on Facebook, you can get on Twitter, you can get on more focused niche communities, meet other people with various sets of talents, and then bring them together. When Important Media started off as Green Options Media a number of years back, and I was actually one of the founders of that. When we founded that and launched it, the three of us that founded it had never met in person, and didn't until like 4 months after we launched. So you can do that online. You can find people literally from all over the world and connect based on those passions. Open source in kind of a broad philosophical sense, but in a more practical sense, Twitter, Facebook, tools like that connect people.
So I'd like you to close with your thoughts on the better green future that you envision and how you'd like to get there.
I think a lot about the way we live now isn't just environmentally unfriendly, it's people unfriendly. We're so focused on, to use a phrase many have used before, getting and spending. And the future that I foresee, would love to see, I guess I don't necessarily foresee it, but one where we maybe take a step back and we aren't so much focused on those kinds of things, that we're enjoying places like this right here, spending time with people we love, families, friends, and so forth, and and not so focused on things, the houses, the cars, and so forth. Ultimately, I think if that kind of mindset shift can occur, and I won't claim I know how to make that occur on a large scale, a lot of the other good things that we talk about, the environmental benefits and so forth, are going to follow with it. So yeah, I guess in a nutshell, in the future, I just like to see us a lot less stressed out.
Information is not only valuable for helping us make better decisions as consumers, but also as people in the wild world we call home. People like Jeff are working to bring information to the public about buying and behaving responsibly that would not be available if we had to rely upon the lamestream media, and so I applaud him and everyone like him. Groups of informed people are the most powerful force on Earth, and perhaps, together, groups of informed people can save our world.
The sky calls to us. If we do not destroy ourselves, we will one day venture to the stars.